So, good morning and welcome to Essential Ingredients. I'm your host, Justine, and today with me is Maddie Hamann, and I want to welcome all our loyal listeners and viewers and guests and welcome you to today's episode. We're excited to talk with you, Maddie. I'm excited to learn more about Pacha. And Maddie is the co-founder, along with her husband and some other friends that they share a home with. And we're excited to have you on to share your journey today. So if you would, just introduce yourself, a little bit about Pacha, and then we'll get cracking and dig into the story just a little bit more.
Great. Awesome. Yeah, I'm Maddie, and I'm happy to be here today. I started Pacha Bread, 5.5 years ago, with my now husband, and we make organic gluten-free bread from just two ingredients, just buckwheat and sea salt, sprouted buckwheat. And when I met my husband, he had this bread. We met at an event, and he had this bread, and I hadn't been eating bread for years for a couple of different reasons. It just didn't feel good in my body. I would get tired and feel kind of just like bloated, and I just eventually gave up on bread because even the gluten-free stuff had stuff in it that was not feeling great in my body.
Mm-hmm.
So this bread that he brought was just made of buckwheat. And when he shared it with me, I kind of couldn't believe it. I was like, wait, I can eat this? Like I can just eat this whenever I want? And okay, yeah, great. Yeah. Um, and I started eating the bread. I started dating him, and then we started making the bread in our little community kitchen. We lived in a house with a few other roommates, and everybody was kind of making the bread and iterating on flavors. And um, people started asking us to make it for their events and asking if they could buy it from us. And we were like, okay, all right. If people want this bread, we probably need to figure out how to get it out into the world. Um, my husband, Adam Heiner, is the co-founder of Boochcraft, which is a hard alcohol or high alcohol kombucha. The first one actually to market. His brother like invented the process. um, and so he had a background in building and scaling CPG businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And I was an oceanographer at the time. And I was kind of at the stage of my career where I realized that like studying more about the climate and learning more about it wasn't actually making any difference in the way people behaved.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw what Adam was doing with Boochcraft at the time. He was working in impact, and he was directing dollars towards helping farmers transition their farming practices and, you know, sequestering carbon by no-till, like using these farming practices that were better for the planet. And so he started thinking about turning Pacha Bread into a company that is growing into what it is today. And I jumped on board,
Oh,
jumped
wow.
ship, so to speak.
So wait, not only did you start a company, you started a relationship and got married. I mean, I'm just painting a whole picture here, right? So, I mean, so tell me, when did you guys first meet? What year was that?
We met in we met in 2019.
2019. So
No, 2018, sorry, 2018.
that was
Yeah,
before COVID. That was
before COVID.
so you were
Yeah,
building this business in its early days through COVID.
yeah, we actually opened. So all the gears were in motion. We had signed a lease for a very small commissary kitchen, like a
Mhm.
350 square foot kitchen. And we had our partners. We partnered with, as you mentioned, our current housemates and owners of Trilogy Sanctuary. It's a vegan restaurant in San Diego that's like beloved. It's amazing. And they couldn't find an organic gluten-free bread then. So they partnered with us to bring Pacha Bread into the market. And yeah, everything was all lined up, and then COVID hit. So in some ways it was crazy and terrible, and in other ways it was actually like a totally fine time to start a business because it food production is one of the only things that didn't get shut down
Mhm.
completely in those first few weeks. So we were still operating. And the other little silver lining, I guess, was that my brother, who was working in events at the time, he completely lost his work, and we hired him as our first employee to bake bread, and he still works for us. He's our logistics manager.
Wow. So it's interesting because you had a little commissary kitchen, but you didn't have a standalone store, right? So that probably, was helpful because that would have been challenging in those times. You would have had to completely change the model, right? Um, so once you came out of COVID, um, how did that change what you guys were doing in the business? Did it change anything? What were the opportunities that, came up during COVID that maybe you might not have thought of that you took advantage of? And then what did it look like after?
Yeah, totally. I mean, this is a great question. So the main thing, we always planned to scale into retail and be a food manufacturer that then sold into grocery stores. That was the plan. For, and in fact, while we were in that 350 square foot kitchen, like right from day one, we were pitching Whole Foods. We were like, we want Whole Foods National. We're going to do it. Which is crazy. We could not have fulfilled on Whole Foods National from that 350 square foot kitchen. It's ridiculous. So, but the good thing, the blessing and the curse was that a lot of the buyers at the grocery stores were just kind of not reviewing their doors. They were just trying to keep things under wraps, sourcing was crazy and everything was crazy. So they weren't changing over products in the way that they normally would. So even though we were pitching our bread to these different stores, no one was taking it
Mhm.
in the first couple of years. So we actually made a move that doesn't make that much sense for a frozen bread product, but we decided to sell direct to consumer online, and we worked with a friend of ours who had some experience in that space, and we've actually built a very successful e-commerce branch of our business, higher margins, and it's really wonderful. We have now built up a large email list, and we own our customers, so to speak. But we can just directly communicate with our community of dedicated fans and buyers. So yeah, that's been a total, we never would have done that.
Right. That I can imagine, right? But building your own community, it's not easy. And it doesn't happen overnight. And people are like, if you build it, they will come. Well, that doesn't really, I mean, that's not a thing, right? I mean, it takes a lot of hard work and strategy and being scrappy. So, can you talk a little bit about what worked for you in that process to build that community, those loyal fans, um, to create a successful business?
Yeah, for sure. So I think there's a couple of components. The first one is just really what we're selling. We we make one of the only organic, like at the time when we started the business, there was not an organic gluten-free option available nationwide. There were some areas where you could get one that was like a local, but nobody, yeah, just nothing organic in the gluten-free aisle. But we're just making a product that has a lot of integrity. It's allergen free unless you're allergic to buckwheat, which is like 0.00001% of the American population. You can eat our bread, and we make it from sprouted buckwheat, so we maximize the nutritional benefits of the it's not actually a grain, it's a pseudo cereal, it's a seed. The buckwheat plant, actually, fun fact, it's not a grass, it's not like wheat at all. It's like a field of white flowers, and then the seeds of those flowers are what you harvest. It's really beautiful.
I love buckwheat, by the way. Like in college, people would go buy pancake mix and everything. I would only buy this buckwheat. I don't know why. I was not a bread person, but I like these buckwheat pancakes. I think because they weren't as sweet. It had like a different consistency and flavor. So when I learned about, Pacha, I was excited because it's another way that I can also eat buckwheat, which I really like. I like that it's a little less sweet. I like that sort of the texture of it. It's a little bit different. And I do like, and I am gluten free. So, you know,
Yeah, it checks the boxes for people. And like I'm saying, like it's just a really high integrity operation that we're running here. And when you can tell, you can just tell.
but despite that, I know that it's high integrity, and I know that there's a lot of things that are high integrity, but that you've done something that's really amazing. You've taken a high integrity, business with your intention and built it out so that it was successful. Because a lot of people can do things with integrity, but they don't know how to get the word out or they don't know how to build the community. So I'm curious because I think that's a really big obstacle for people. So how did you make that happen? What did that look like?
Yeah. So, I mean, for us, like I said, the e-commerce piece has been actually super crucial, because in order to acquire customers, we were advertising on Meta, right? So we advertise, we put out the word that we're making this bread that's unlike anything else that's on the market. People get interested, they come to our website, we get their email address, and then we start sharing with them all about our practices and specifically about our regenerative farming practices. So all of our buckwheat comes from several farms in the Midwest, in Minnesota, North Dakota, and South Dakota, that are certified regenerative by the Soil and Climate Initiative. And all of our buckwheat is, one, it's pesticide free, toxin free, and it's doing amazing things for the health of the soil. And just, it's sequestering carbon, it is allowing water to go into the ground, it is providing food for pollinators, and yeah, it's doing incredible things for the planet. And our packaging is also home compostable. So we don't actually, it's kind of a funny thing, we don't lead with that story because, unfortunately, the thing most people, I mean, unfortunately or whatever, it just what it is. But most people want to buy food that's going to do something good for their bodies. So
Right.
that's what we lead with. We lead with what's good for your body, and then after we have your attention, we talk about, okay, here's the other things, here's the other reasons why this is so good for you and so good for everyone and our planet. Um, and then also just like super tactical, like totally strategy. We started doing a program with our only through e-commerce, where we're doing like a monthly special release. So every month we put out a new flavor, like a carrot cake or a chocolate cherry or pumpkin spice or high protein sacha inchi blueberry. Like, um, and that has done wonders for us in terms of just like keeping our customers really engaged with our email list. And yeah, also just providing a place where people feel like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. We actually do take the customer feedback and look at it and say like, oh, this is what our customers want. Like, let's make this sounds like a fun idea. Let's do this. So there is actually a touch point and a feedback with our community. And yeah, that's been really essential, I think, in the maintaining the health of our.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, what you're saying about building that community was basically that you did some ads and you integrated education into this information and engagement by asking people what they want to keep them connected so that they were interested in the newsletter or your updates. And you feel like that's what created the successful and engaged community that you have. Is that, am I hearing you right?
I also do really think that there's an element of our brand that's just our me and Adam as founders, like connecting directly with people and sharing our story really authentically. Like we'll do things in our newsletter, like talk about we're building an earthen home right now, like out of soil
Okay.
from
I
our
love
land. Yeah, like a super adobe. It's called super adobe.
okay.
So, it's like not related to the business at all, but it is related to our values, which are like, yeah, we really want to, if we're going to build a home, we want to do it in the most sustainable way that we can and
Right.
have the least impact on our planet. So you know, we just really
People,
authentically share our story.
I
And I
think
think
people want to get to know the people behind things as well.
yeah,
Right? Like, and what are
totally.
your intentions and how are you living and, be aspirational for them? Because if you're building this gluten-free, regenerative, organic bread that's better for people and better for the planet, what else are you doing within your life to support that lifestyle?
Totally.
I mean, and equally, I do the same thing. We just launched a new newsletter part of it called Wisdom, Wellness, and WTF Moments, my 50 plus journey because I'm 53. And so while it's not exactly about essential ingredients, the podcast and the intersection of food and sustainability, as we've been talking about it, we've expanded that conversation to include health, beauty, fashion, lifestyle, and planet. So then it connects and it gives people sort of a broader sense, which I think is what you're saying that you're doing with yours as well. So
Yeah.
people get to dig a little deeper and get to know who's Maddie, who's your husband, who are these people that they're enamored with, and the business that they're building. What else are they doing? I think that that's a really good lesson for people, or insight, I should say, because it's not just about selling something. It's about being vulnerable and sharing and education and information and understanding, which is all the things that you're bringing to the table when you're sharing your newsletter. It's personal, it's educational, it's informational, and it enables people to make more informed choices and participate in the conversation and know that you're listening and you hear them, because then each month you're coming out with something new. So that's super exciting. So I'm curious, like, so here you are, you met your boyfriend, now husband, and you guys started this business. And before this, you were an oceanographer. That was a little bit of a tongue twister for me. I'm not sure why. But that being said, it sounds like you were knee deep in research and education and a lot of that. And so, how did that translate into being an entrepreneur? I know that you said your husband had scaled businesses. So, you had that to lean into, of course. But what were the skills and resources that you tapped into from your experience that you could bring to the table that you feel like are really integral to your growth here? Or was it just life experience or an innate entrepreneurial spirit within you?
Yeah. I like all of the above, I think. I definitely, so I was an observational oceanographer, which means that I was actually going out to sea, and the groups that I worked with would win grants and organize a lab and then organize people out at sea, analyze the data, and then write papers. So there was a lot of administration going on. Uh, I actually won my own grant, collected my own data, and wrote my thesis off of that. So like I did a lot that was not just crunching data as a PhD student. So all of that definitely directly transferred. But also, yeah, there's I think that there's something kind of intangible. And actually, my PhD advisor used to always say this. He's like, you can write. Like I can't teach students how to write. This is like you know how to communicate the ideas in a way that can't be taught.
Mhm.
And I just think that I like what I realized I went into oceanography thinking like, oh, I need to put my math and science, like I have such strong background in these like hard skills. I need to put those to good use for humanity. And I realized in the second half of my PhD that part of what my gift to the world actually is that I know how to connect with people.
Mhm.
So a lot of what I bring to Pacha is the storytelling, and I'm the director of marketing now. I never thought I was going to be in the world of marketing. I can tell you that much for sure. But Yeah, it's it's a really interesting thing to figure out how to communicate the essence of something, like what we were talking about, the heart of what this product is. Like it's a bread that could heal the planet and could heal our bodies. It's something really magical. But to then translate that and communicate it in a way that like grabs people's attention and allows the story to unfold for people. So there's like a creative aspect there that I don't think is necessarily from my PhD training, but it's more a life experience.
And just being an entrepreneur is very different than being a researcher or doing something like that. So, what was that transition like for you?
It's been a slow unfolding, I would say. At first, it was really I came into Pacha. I When I joined the team, the my role was as like an administrative assistant. I was still a postdoctoral scholar, and I was like on the side. I was doing administrative work for Pacha, and so it was kind of like as I continued to learn and grow the skills in marketing, essentially, I was able to release my safety net of the job that I was working.
Hmm.
And I definitely I have leaned and continue to lean on my husband so much. Having his experience has given me this sense of trust that even when I don't know what needs to be done, that together we can figure it out.
And then, of course, you have the other co founders too, right? And they own a vegan restaurant. So, what role do they play? And how do you guys all integrate?
Yeah, that's a great and interesting question. So in the beginning, we were very involved. They were very, very involved in the day to day, and like their knowledge of running a business at the level that they were running it at, right? And like a local eatery was very, very tangible. They also have a lot of connections through being a well-known beloved vegan restaurant. They have a lot of connections to people who just know that they are doing great things and putting their energy into quality products and services. And so we've gotten a lot of we've done a lot of fundraising with our founding team. They continue to bring in a lot of the friends and family money that continues to fuel our business. And their role is less about the day-to-day strategy of how to run the business and more in the realm of like what how can Pacha execute the mission? What are we really here to do? And like how can we
So,
continue to
impact really, impact.
impact? Yeah, and holding the values and aligning the values with a strategy that will allow us to grow. Yeah.
I think that's important, especially as you, I mean, continue to raise money. And if you were to ever go institutional, I don't know that you would or wouldn't, to be able to integrate that into your board and make sure that that's part of it so that doesn't get lost, I think is really so important.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's like critical. I'm doing this because of the potential for the impact. And if that gets lost, like, I'm just not going to do it anymore. Honestly.
So you guys have been doing this for a few years now, and it seems like it's grown organically, and you guys have done a lot of whether it be scrappy, hard work at the beginning to then transitioning to being more strategic with how you've built things out. What can we expect to see in the next few years, in the next 3 years?
So one thing you can definitely expect to see is tortillas.
Oh,
So up until now, we've mostly been focused on bread and English muffins, and we earlier this year launched our sprouted sourdough tortillas on. are on our website. Those will be rolling out in retail next year, so you'll be able to get those at your grocery store. I can't say which ones just yet.
Exciting. Okay,
But
so in the meantime, is there any exciting news that you want to share?
yes, I do want to share that we are going to be launching into Sprouts. We're actually doing that right now. We're hitting the shelves, so hit or miss, you might be able to find it at Sprouts today. Um, and yeah, they'll be carrying two of our bread flavors, and then also our two flavors of English muffins, which our English muffins are our top seller, and I have to say they're my favorite. So
What are your favorite flavors?
my go-to is the original English muffin. I eat it probably every morning. And I really enjoy the multi-seed bread. Uh, it's just like a really hearty seed bread. I feel really nourished and it keeps me full for a long time. So those are the two that I like
Awesome.
use the
So,
most.
and when you say that you're going to be in Sprouts, I know that you're in San Diego. Are they rolling it out in like 10 stores or 5 stores or everywhere? Or can we see it in Northern California?
Nationwide. So if you have a
Nationwide.
Sprouts, they will have Pacha Bread.
Wow, that's a big win. That's a, that's big to fulfill.
Yeah. But we're already nationwide in Whole Foods, and we have distribution in a lot of independents and small chains in different regions. So yeah, it's just the next step. So we're excited, and we're actually going to be growing into a few more locations, which we'll announce a little later this year. But yeah, Pacha is growing, and hopefully you'll be able to find it close to you.
So for those folks that, maybe want to learn more about Pacha or maybe order directly from you, what's the best way to go about doing that?
Definitely visit our website, livepacha.com. And I recommend signing up for our newsletter because you will start to get information about, well, just about our business, but also you'll get subscribed to the mailing list and get updates about our special flavors, which you asked what my favorite flavor is. My favorite flavor is carrot cake, but we only have it like once a year, so I can't, it's not my go-to. So yeah,
I'm curious, Maddie, what is it like to work with your husband?
it's great. I love working with my husband. I know that not everybody could do it. But yeah, when we first started the business, maybe 6 months before I told him that I wanted to join Pacha Bread, he had told me that he didn't think it was a good idea for me to work on one of his other businesses with him, just because it gets messy, right? Like, well, if we were to break up, what would happen? But um, when I told him I wanted to work on the business, he was like, "Oh no, I can't say no to that. She's she's too good. Okay, I guess we'll have to do it." But it's been really I smooth sailing. I would say um the most challenging thing about working on the business with my husband is re- that we sometimes don't set up containers to talk about the business. We just kind of like assume that, oh, we see each other all the time, we're going to talk about these things. And then we realize like, wow, we really need to like schedule a meeting and like have a virtual call and really talk about the business. Yeah, and then the other thing that can be a little
You said virtual call?
well, he works at the facility. That's what I'm saying. Like sometimes we got to do it.
Virtual
Uh,
call. I'm imagining you both in the Airstream or both at the plant or something. I guess it's the same thing. You have your office there and he's got his office there, and you're both doing different things, so you might
yeah,
be in different offsites.
exactly. And sometimes we do get to meet in person. I like most of the time when we talk about stuff, we're in person, but it just gets challenging to be like, okay, I don't want to have a virtual meeting with him. That's weird, but sometimes it needs to happen. So that's one challenge. And then also just like, and I think all startup entrepreneurs probably struggle with this, but it just sometimes feels like we're working all the time.
Yes, it
You
does.
know, like we just don't turn off. Uh, we're always in Pacha mode to some degree. It's just like how much. So being really intentional to set time and like have date nights where we don't talk about work
Hmm.
is really important.
So what would your husband say about working with you? Is there anything that, he might share? What do you think he thinks?
I mean, I think he also, one thing I will say is really, uh, I just trust. I know that Adam has got his piece of the business and he knows that I have mine. Like there's just a lot of trust with the capacity and skillfulness. Like we both just respect and trust each other on that. He might say that I'm not always awesome at answering emails, but I'm like, oh, we'll talk about that later. And then, yeah,
I would blame it on Google because of the way they do the Gmails. Sometimes they get lost,
yeah,
right? If six people are on it and they respond,
yeah,
I never even
exactly,
see the first email. I don't know what we're talking about anymore.
exactly. Yeah. I don't know. You sent 20 emails before I opened it, so I can't touch that.
All
Yeah.
right, Maddie, thank you so much for joining us today. I want to thank our guests for tuning in, whether you're watching us on YouTube, on our Essential Ingredients channel, or tuning into Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Make sure to sign up for our newsletter. It's a new Substack that we just put out. We want to hear from you. We want to engage. We want to hear what you want to hear, um, and so that we can make sure to deliver content that is interesting to you. So again, we're at Essential Ingredients for the Instagram, essential.ingredients. And for YouTube, it's at Essential Ingredients. So we look forward to continuing our conversations. And Maddie, again, thank you so much for joining in today.